Hello, welcome back, everybody. Thank you very much. We're now into the final straight here. I just want to say this has been super lovely so far. Phil Longwell has credited a photo today he took from some slides in case students wondered about the source. It is very good practice, Philip. Absolutely 100%. I can now currently see myself on screen. I'm not sure where Lorraine's gone. There we go. That's better. Nobody's going to be complaining now. Like, I didn't want to see that bearded weirdo for all that long. Didn't want to look at him anymore. Lorraine is also back. So we are into the final straight, the last half hour, the final countdown, as it were. So Lorraine, thank you again for joining me here. I just have to say it's been a lovely experience. Like, it genuinely has. I knew it would be, obviously.
Well, yeah.
Of course. And I'm just going to say,
remember the first time we chatted, we were just like straight away, and I was like, yeah, he's in my tribe now.
There you go. I like that. I like your tribe. When I'm over in Edinburgh, I'll say hi. Or I think I got the pronunciation wrong. And hi to everybody who's here in the studio. We've got Jane, Doreen, and Nathan are here. Tom, yourself, and then we've also got Many MKKX, a name obviously that has been given by Podbean. Big thanks as well to Michelle, who has downloaded Podbean today. Michelle Morgan, one of my marigolds in the ELT industry here in Spain. Somebody who has been around since the very beginning of my teacher training career. She was at my first ever talk back in 2012, I think, and an entire decade ago, and a full head of hair ago. She's tuned in today. So thank you very much for that, Michelle. Props to you. And I have retweeted an applause for you on Twitter as well. So back to Lorraine, and well, not just Lorraine, more Intrepid English and your ideals, your mission statements. So we talked about empowerment before the break. What are your other ideals in your mission statement? I've got them written down here, so I could say them. Yeah. But I thought I'd hand it over to you because your business, your idea. I don't want to steal your glory.
Oh, too late, Harry. It's gone.
Sorry, it's mine now. I'm going to celebrate my changing.
Yeah.
There we go.
I have no different hat. It's exactly the same as the previous hat.
It's slightly different. It's a bit wider. The colour's slightly different.
Okay, added value there. Well done. That was worth the costume change.
There you go.
Those people who are listening on audio only are like, what? I missed the hat change. What's going on? You can watch it later.
Exactly. Watch back.
So personally and professionally, I think that growth mindset is something that I've worked on a lot myself, and something that I always try and instill in my students if it doesn't exist already. And when I say growth mindset, for those who don't know, the wonderful Carol Dweck, she's a psychologist, I think, in America, who described the benefit of children and other learners understanding that where they are is okay, and they can move forward. Okay, so the whole idea of yet, maybe don't know that yet, but it's, on the way. Removing the negativity that comes with learning something is so important. Often people beat themselves up because they're not perfect yet. Well, newsflash, nobody's perfect. And it's an impossible standard to try and reach for. So I always try to tell my students, be kind to yourself where you are and move forward. We can move forward together. So we always try and take students forward step by step to where they need to be. So that's growth mindset. We've talked about empowerment already. And the others are community, personalization, and inclusivity. So when it comes to learning anything, you succeed a lot better, a lot easier if you've got a group of people around you who are hoping that you succeed, whether that's
Absolutely.
teachers, or are the students, right? I mean, I was just thinking before we came on live here today, Harry. Today alone, I've used LinkedIn, where I met you and a load of lovely people, amazing, amazing people. And I was just really, I had a moment of appreciation for all the lovely folks that I've met on LinkedIn, which I never expected, ever expected to meet so many great people on there, right?
He tagged me and really gave me a big smile. It was lovely.
Really
It was lovely. Did nearly cry.
I was like, yeah, guys, I'm feeling the love. And but I've also used today, I've used LinkedIn, I've used Strava, I've also talked to my my friends at an online it's a group that I joined. I don't want to call it a networking group because it's so much more than that. The tagline is so it's move online, and the tagline is making better human beings. And it's just such a fulfilling, wholesome crowd of people. We meet for 90 minutes every week online and chat about work maybe, but also life, relationships. You get advice, you give advice, you just chat about stuff. And there's a real focus on, positive mental health, growth, personally and professionally. And I just think like my life is so much richer having those various support networks around. But also I give value to them in my way, and that is also fulfilling to me, so I just community is something that's I think beneficial for everybody, but it's
That's
something that we really built into our school.
Oh, now Michelle's watching on YouTube. Hello, Michelle. Applause for watching on YouTube as well. Yeah, that was the whole marigolds thing. It's all about, these communities. So, where you plant marigolds, they help things around them, basically. And, your marigolds online are the people that help you grow. Now, I have to say that, one of the benefits of what's come out of the pandemic, I have felt a much bigger connection with people online. Beforehand, I had my networks, I knew people online, there was this, that, and the other. I think being almost forced into it, it's grown massively. And that idea of community to have in a class, in your work, just in your life, if you don't have it, then you can't grow. Right? It's just impossible. And what you mentioned about personalization is something that in the world of sustainability is super important. If it's not, a lot of people aren't going to care if you're just, talking about the polar bears. Okay, it is a shame that the polar bears are dying, but guess what? Never seen a polar bear, probably never will, don't really care. So personalizing it and making it, about them and about where they're from and local is likely to make people care more. People should care about the fact that, climate emergency, planets coming to an end, but often they don't. But when you make it about them and personalize it, it's super important in terms of the environment, but in terms of learning, it's such a key. I even lifted my foot up then. You can't see, but I lifted my foot up. That's how key it is.
He means it, guys. He means it.
There were hands and foot gestures. It was crazy.
Yeah, 100%. I think so a lot of students as well, they've been to language classes in the past where they are one of 8 students, for example, and there's a curriculum which has been designed by someone who's not even a teacher there, and it's just disconnected from where they are. They can't. It's hard to be passionate about something when you don't really care. Like when I was at school, I hated languages. I mean, it was terrible. I actually was so bad at French that my lovely stepmom, who means the world to me and was saying it from a place of love, she was like, Laurie, just forget it. Just focus on something that you can do. All right. And I was like, oh, okay, wow, that's tough love, but it worked. I mean, I'm not talking about English there. I was really passionate about English then. I have been all the way through my life. Excuse me. But yeah, that learning, French verbs and German connotations of, oh my God, it was just torture. So I didn't really understand then. I thought, I'm never going to need German. And then, fast forward years later,
Whoops.
living in Germany, going, okay, maybe I should have paid attention in my German class at school. But then, miraculously, I was learning German and it was easier, much easier for me. It was enjoyable because I could apply it to my life immediately. And I just thought to myself, right, okay, teaching English needs to have the same thing. You can't give someone a textbook that 100,000 people have also, looked at and studied from and expect them to be passionate about it. You need to apply that to their daily life, as well as all the other lessons that you're teaching through English, like sustainability and environmental activism and things. So yeah, personalization is super, super important, but it's also the key to having fun in a lesson.
100%. 100%. Like now when I was at school, I was good at French. Well, I got an A in French. I definitely didn't cheat in the exam. Almost certainly didn't. But no, I was good at French apparently, because I'd go to France on holiday with my folks, and basically I could count to 20 and I knew how to give people directions. So back when I was doing my GCSEs back in a long time ago, 2000 I think, I didn't really need a lot more than that. And some friends of mine who live around the corner, they had a French visitor come and stay with them the other day. I went round there, I was like, yes, here we go, get to practice my French. And I was just like, well, I could ask for a beef sandwich. I don't eat meat, but I could ask for it. And I was like, I can tell him to turn left, and I can tell him there's a monkey in the tree. But that's about it. I was like, it's completely irrelevant. Like, and none of it, of what I'd learned was ever relevant. And so, it didn't really stick. It was never important. So as soon as I finished at 16 years old, it was like, I've done that, passed the exam, I'm gone now. And that it can't be like that with languages. It can't be like that. You need to have that connection with it. Look at that.
Exactly.
We said connection at the same time. Brilliant. And the last core theme of yours, the last part of your mission statement, is about inclusivity, isn't it? Now, I want to hear about something exciting that you're doing about inclusivity.
Okay, well, personally or professionally? Because there's loads of things going on. Okay, so one of the big projects that we've got coming up at the moment is we're producing an app. It's a language learning app, and as well as being developed with green IT, I know you'd like that one. It's also being designed in the most inclusive way. So we always try and be as inclusive as possible in our classes. So we have a range of different materials to suit each learning style. If, for example, we have a student who really likes to have listening materials, we've got a lot of podcasts. We've also got audio courses as well. But for people who don't like listening to things or can't hear, we also have transcripts and blog posts and a lot of written material online as well. We're working towards being more inclusive, but we've just registered as a supporter of the Sunflower Initiative. Now, this came about by someone, a lovely person, again, that I met on LinkedIn. His name's Spencer, and he is deaf. And he approached me and said, Lorraine, I want you to write my book. So I was like, well, I've never written a book before, Spencer, but I'd love to help you in any way I can. So we were chatting a lot about inclusivity. It was really, really valuable time for me when we were talking about this, because I just thought there's a lot I need to learn, which is an uncomfortable feeling, but it precedes a period of growth, right? So I've learned a lot since meeting him. And he told me about the Sunflower Initiative, which is, I don't really know how to describe it. It's an initiative where people with hidden disabilities can signal that they have a hidden disability. They may need some help. It might be something like, I'm deaf. Can you please let me see your face as we're talking so I can lip read? Or maybe it's, I'm autistic. Can you be patient with me? Or I've got a learning disability, that kind of thing. But it's not just about the physical badges that people can wear as well. It's a movement to try and make things more inclusive. So registering as a business, even though we're online, we don't have bricks and mortar premises that people can visit. We're still an inclusive space. We're a safe space for them to come. They can tell us if they've got any specific learning needs, and we'll adapt accordingly. So that's one area that we're trying to be inclusive with. We're also we're including that in our lessons as well. So when we teach business English, you and I both have a bit of a thing about business, this vague entity. But when we're teaching business English, we teach not only phrases and things that will help students, but we teach them how to include one another. We teach them how to advocate for themselves and how to include other people as well who might be excluded. We also have a course on our website for diversity and inclusion, which teaches people not only sort of what it is, but why it's important and how to apply it. So yeah, in a way, we are trying to help students to be better versions of themselves, in English. Of course, English is the tool that we use to do that. But I think now is the time that people are looking for more. They want to, as you said, it's the silver lining of the pandemic. People want to be able to come to work as their whole selves. They need to be able to express themselves and care about the topics that they care about. So we really want to include that in the whole process. So inclusivity all the way through there.
I love that. Come to work as their whole selves. That's I think that that encapsulates inclusivity really nicely. It's a thing that's very difficult to encapsulate because it is so wide reaching. I remember a few shows back in November, Tyson Seaburn came on who literally wrote the book on how to write inclusive materials. And I've been trying to grow with it as well because there are a lot of things that I didn't know. At first for me, when I thought inclusivity, it was ethnicity, gender, and sexual orientation, and these different. That was it. And then I was just thinking, oh no, hang on. There's actually so much more. Inclusivity is literally everybody who isn't included. And it was a bit of a stark realization for me to kind of realize that and think I've got so much to learn. That's one of the wonderful things about there are so many webinars that you can go to, so many articles you can read, and just knowing that you don't know is something that I don't know, I found really helpful as a teacher in general. You don't know everything. It was hard to deal with at first, being a teacher, not knowing everything. Also being at Waters, you've never met my family, but if you ever meet my mum and dad, you'll understand. My mum, she's not always right, but she's never wrong.
Right.
Which is something I was brought up with. So for me, it was really difficult to kind of adjust and realize, you know what? I'm not right. I'm not necessarily wrong, but I don't know. I've got no idea. I don't need to have an answer for that because I don't know.
I think that's the most important thing, an important skill that a teacher can have is to say, oh, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to go and find out. Or, oh, that's really interesting. I haven't really thought about that before. Let me find that out for you. Saying, because we expect students to make mistakes. It's absolutely a part of learning. If you can't make a mistake in a classroom, then you're not speaking English. You're not speaking a language that you're learning. So it's really important that we model that as teachers and say, I'm not perfect. I've made a mistake, or I don't know that thing, but I'm going to find out for you. We're going to solve that problem together, and if you're teaching online and you've got the right type of student, you can Google it and you can find out right there and then, oh, there's a really interesting resource there, But going back to what you were saying, Harry, about learning about inclusivity. So one of my dear friends, and luckily one of the people who's been on our podcast as well, Alyssa Ordu, she's a diversity and inclusion consultant in London. And she and I had a lovely conversation. We've had many lovely conversations about this topic, but the way she put it, and it makes perfect sense to me, is that there are policies in place, there are quotas out there to help companies and institutions be more diverse. But if the inclusivity isn't there to include people, then it's just a tick box, really, so it's having people at all levels of the hierarchy, all levels of the decision-making process, with different worldviews, with different perspectives, whether that be from the point of view of someone with a disability, or the point of view of someone, a person of color, or a person who, has a particular religious belief. It can't all be, decisions can't be made by one small subsection of the population. So if people are interested in learning more, there's a really great blog post on the Intrepid English website where they can listen to our conversation, read it as well as a transcript there. But there are loads and loads of resources at the bottom of that blog post where people can sort of go on a bit of a journey, a little internet rabbit hole, but a wholesome one, to learn more about this really important topic.
And how can people find the Intrepid English website?
Intrepidenglish.co.uk. That was smooth, Harry.
See that? Now,
professional.
Ariful has asked a question. He said, what would you say about watching movies in learning English? Now, I had a bit of a rant. Surprisingly, I don't like to give parental advice to people. As a parent, I discovered how to do things, and nothing annoyed me more than someone saying, "Oh, you should do that with your daughter. You should do that." But the other day, as I mentioned, the French family that came to visit, the mum is English and the dad's French, and they spoke to their daughter, who's 2.5 now, in French, and all of their TV was in French, and all the books they read were in French. And I just said, I'm really sorry. I don't want to be someone to tell you how to raise your daughter, but it's so much easier if you teach her English now. If you get her into watching TV in English now, so even if you're not speaking to her in English, but if all she's ever watching on TV is in English, all she ever knows is TV in English, it will make such an enormous difference to her understanding, to her speaking. So for me, watching movies, watching TV series in English is an absolute 100% yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. And a lot of people attribute the Dutch capacity for English from a very young age is because their TV is in English, often with English subtitles, or at least they have English subtitles with Dutch, TV content.
Portuguese as well.
I don't know. Really, I don't know why certain nationalities have such a good propensity for English. But I do think that is part of it. It's generally sort of just instilling a curiosity from an early age. So to answer Ariful's question about movies in English, my answer is that if you are a movie lover, do that in English. If you're learning English, great, watch a movie in English. But be aware that often the quality of the language is not really, it's not going to be too advanced. I mean, it depends on the movie, obviously. But for example, if you're watching action movies and things like that, the range of vocabulary that you're going to learn is minimal. But that's not the only goal there, right? If you're passive learning, right, so you're watching a movie in English and you're not really actively writing things down, you're not actively paying attention to the vocabulary, there are benefits to that. It's training your brain to understand the tonality of English and the melody and intonation. There are lots of benefits and advantages to watching movies in English, even if you're not actively learning. But I would say don't just do that. If you're learning English, don't just rely on movies. Try and turn it, if you don't have time for anything else, try and turn that into an active learning process. For example, when you come across a new word or phrase in that movie, then pause it, write it down, write the sentence down that the word appeared in, maybe even make a note about pronunciation, and that way you're turning that into a more active learning process. You can learn quite a lot that way, and because if it's interesting, if you're enjoying the movie, your brain will maintain that knowledge for a little bit longer than if you were to just sort of go, oh, I don't know that word, and then just move on. So that would be my advice about using movies to learn English. But there are, if you want to watch the content that you're learning English from, there are lots of resources out there where the quality of the vocabulary, the advanced sentence structures, and the pronunciation, oftentimes, if that's what you're working on. TED Talks, one of them. Controversial. Some people love them, some people hate them, some people love the older ones before it got all salesy. But TED Talks, it's such a huge, deep archive of topics ranging from education to music to technology, all of these areas.
The Kids Against Plastic as well.
The Kids Against Plastic.
Yeah. I was pointing at the hat of Kids Against Plastic. They've got a couple. So. But it's everything on TED Talks. Everything. Yeah. Whatever you want to learn about, you can learn about it.
You can learn about it, and there's an interactive transcript. Most of the time there is. I would say one thing, if I can go into some more about this. It's something that I often recommend to students. At a beginner level, you need to translate from your mother tongue quite often, right? That's part of the process. I get that. But once you're at a pre-intermediate level and above, you want to try and avoid the translating phase of the process, okay? There are several reasons why. One, if you are thinking in English and speaking in English, writing in English, without having that L1 translation, the translating from your mother tongue, you're going to be quicker at it. You'll be thinking quicker. The process will be smoother. You won't have to sit and think about what you're going to say as much. You might be a little bit to begin with. It might take a little while to get used to it, but eventually it will be beneficial. But also, if you're looking up a new word, a new English word in your language, you then miss out on such a wealth of information than if you look it up in an English dictionary. You've got example sentences, you'll learn the preposition that comes after the word, for example. You'll learn if it's a transitive or intransitive verb. And unfortunately or fortunately, English has a lot of words with many definitions. So if you're translating, you're just getting one definition, right? You're just getting one. So look it up in an English dictionary. Try to remove your native language from the process if you can, and it will generally make things a lot smoother.
I think for me, like with learning Spanish especially, I'm currently learning Portuguese. I'm on day 202 of Duolingo, but that's more of just a fun game thing. But I think for me, when learning Spanish, the massive moment was watching a movie. A lot of people talk about dreaming in Spanish or whatever. I don't remember what I dream in, but watching a movie and just completely understanding the whole thing. The movie was rubbish, but I understood the whole thing. And I was like, yes, I did it. I think the other biggest moment was I was standing in the shower, and I was thinking about a conversation I was going to have, as you do. My inner monologue was going, and I paused for a moment and I thought, I'm thinking about a conversation I'm going to have with somebody in English, but I'm thinking about it in Spanish. I was just like, that's weird, but that's so cool. I'm going to keep doing this. And I kind of stood there and just kept thinking about that conversation I was going to have in my head. So for me, that was a huge moment. I was delighted with that. Right, we've only got 2 minutes left. I don't know how we've only got 2 minutes left. Where's the time gone? What did you do, Lorraine? You've stolen all the time.
Have fun. That's what I did. Have fun, Harry.
It flew. I could do it on the radio, telly, and everything. Not just be there doing that. I'll tell you one thing that has been really weird about this is because other people can see us, obviously. Not being able to, do any weird scratching anywhere. I'm scratching my head for anyone on the radio, or
I have. Oops. I can't help it.
I haven't been fiddling with my hair. I haven't got any of that, have I? Forgot that. But it has been incredible. It's been so lovely to see you, to speak to you. My light is fading now, so
It's quite poetic.
Yeah, it is. It is. I should tell Thomas about that.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, it's been absolutely glorious to have you on. It's been fantastic. I can't wait to continue to see how Intrepid English grows and helps and personalizes and just continues being awesome. Thank you so much.
Harry, thank you for having me on.
Always
It's
a
been a pleasure.
pleasure. Oh, always a pleasure.